All right, team. This is graph of f prime practice, FRQ number 1. I am going to focus on part C. Now, part C asks, find the absolute minimum value and the absolute maximum value of g on the interval -4 to 12. We also must justify our answer. I drew all over this one already, so I made my own copy of the graph, and we're going to go from there. All right, team, first thing I'm going to do is make a fun chart. The problem is that in this problem, they gave us the graph of f. Sammy in his video covered something really important, and that is that g prime of x is equal to f of x. So really in this chart, it's not a fun chart. We're doing g of x, g prime of x, and then g double prime of x. I just realized that makes this a gun chart. Yikes. And again, g prime is equal to f of x. That's very important. Okay. First, we're going to look for relative mins or maxes. We're going to know a relative min or max because the graph of f or g prime is going to go from positive to negative or negative to positive. So we're looking at right here. That happens 2 places on the graph. It happens at -2, right here, and it happens at 6. So we could have a relative min or max at x equals -2, or maybe x equals 6. What's tricky about this problem is they're asking for an absolute min or max. Now, if you have a graph could have a relative max, right there, see a relative max, but then go on to have an absolute max at the end point. So for absolute min and max, I have to check the endpoints. That happens at x equals 12 and x equals -4. So these are my absolutes, absolute. These are my relatives, are, okay? So that could be x equals -4 or x equals 12. Okay. Most people solve this type of problem by making a chart. And what they do is they call it the candidates test. Candidates test. I'm going to make a column for x, and I'm going to make a column for g of x. I'm just going to go in order. I've got -4 is furthest to the left, then -2, leave myself some room, 6 and 12. Okay? And if you only get this far, you get +1 point for considering -2 and 6, and you get +1 point for considering -4 and 12, just identifying those. So if my goal is only to get maybe 4 points out of 9, well, that's 2 points right there. I might say, you know what, phooey the rest of it, I've got 2 points, I'm out. Okay. But if your goal is to get like a 3 or maybe a 4 or 5 on this exam, and you want to get some other points, I'll show you how. Now, what's important about this problem is that g of x is equal to the integral from 2 to x of f of t dt. What this means is that g of x is equal to the area under f from 2 to blank. G of x is equal to the area from 2 to x of f of t dt. All right, so g of x is equal to the area under f from 2 to x. So in order to find those values, I'm going to start with 6. I think that might be the easiest place to start. So g of 6 is equal to the integral from 2, see it's from 2 to x, g of x. Well, this is from 2 to 6 of f of t dt. Okay? So I go back up to my sketch. This is 2 right here. I'm going from 2 to 6. So this is a triangle. I'm just going to do 1/2 base times height. So that's equal to 1/2. The base of this triangle is from 2 to 6 is 4. You know, it doesn't include this part right here. We're only doing from 2 to 6. I think I saw a few people make that mistake. And the height, I forgot to draw this in. The height is a positive 4. So all I'm doing is 1/2 4 times 4, which equals 8. Okay. That also happens to be the absolute max. So to get the third point, I would say, oh, absolute max at g of 6 equals 8. Some people were able to figure out that it happened at 6, but weren't able to get to 8, and you lost that point. And I would get +1 for the absolute max. For absolute min, that's the fourth point on this problem. It would be g of something equals something. I will let you guys plug in 4, -2, and 12 and figure out which one it is. Again, all you're doing is g of -4 equals the integral from 2 to -4 of f of t dt. Quick hint, from 2 to 4, that's backwards. If you're going from to -4, you're moving to the left. That's going to change your integral. All right, team. Thanks for tuning in.